Mother! Exclamation mark. Is Darren Aronofsky's newest film, guys. And let's just start off with this. This is a polarizing film. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. There's going to be no in between. I'm just saying that right off the bat. This film is marketed as a horror film and a home invasion type-esque film. At least that is what I've talked to other people that haven't seen the film, and that has been what they've said. And I was like, well, that's not what it is. This film, guys, the premise is two people simply by their simple names is Mother and Him. That's all we know them by, and they're played by Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence. They're living in this house. They're trying to rebuild it, basically. And there are first there's one uninvited guest, and that's Ed Harris's character. And then there is Michelle Pfeiffer's character later on. And then there's a lot more people, and then the film gets even more bonkers. Before I continue, guys, what I'm going to say is this. After my rating of Mother, I am going to go into spoilers. I'm going to give you guys my interpretation of the film. So, strap in. That's one of the reasons why I brought a drink, because it's going to be a long review. Again, I will give you guys a spoiler warning once it happens, but let's delve into what I liked and what I didn't like about this film. First of all, the performances are incredible in this film. The simple, visceral intensity that Jennifer Lawrence's character goes through, it's incredible. She's really put through the ringer. It's amazing the fact that if she doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, I'm going to be angry. And because she got nominated for Joy, and it's like, I did not like Joy, and I thought the performance was like, eh. But in this film, I honestly forgot that she was Jennifer Lawrence. It took me about a little over the hour mark, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Jennifer Lawrence. I was like, geez, I completely forgot. I'm a fan of Jennifer Lawrence. Not going to lie. I think that she's a good actress. Phoned it in the last two Hunger Games and the latest X-Men film, Apocalypse. But, she is a good actress. And Javier Bardem, I really like too. Skyfall, No Country for Old Men, No Country for Old Men especially. I think he's a great actor. And Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer, they're good too. And that's all I'm going to say, because there are some other stars in the film. But I was surprised with seeing them. And they're not marketed in the film at all. So I'm going to leave that blank right now. What I am going to say, though, is I really liked the cinematography of this film. It's a unique kind of style where it's like a lot of over-the-shoulder of Jennifer Lawrence, because we as the viewers are seeing it from her perspective, and in seeing it from her perspective, we're kind of ignorant to everything that's going on. And it's cool. It's very neat, in my opinion, because in having that view, or the lack of view, you're figuring out things as she's figuring out things. And I like that. I like that a lot. There's really only the over-the-shoulder, and then every now and then, like, close-ups of her, or, like, just from her. I liked it. There was only really 2 or 3, like, camera angle changes. It's very bold, in my opinion, of Darren Aronofsky to do that. Speaking of bold, I have to say this. As much as I love film scores, I really liked the lack of film score in this film. Johan Johansson, I know I botched his last name, but his score, he originally scored the film, but then Darren Aronofsky's like, oh yeah, we should scrape this. Let's just use Whale Heart, like, as pretty much the soundtrack. And I'll get into that with spoilers, because I know most of you guys are probably like, wait, a Whale Heart? Like, why? Don't get me wrong, like, there's not much of the score. Like, it's honestly a couple minutes. That's really it that I noticed, and it's like it's subtle, but it's also like effective during the scenes that they have. I also like that this film it's not the same old. This isn't the same type of film that everyone is getting spoon-fed. This is a film that the second half, particularly the last 30 minutes, it is bonkers with what it tries to accomplish. And in my opinion, does accomplish. I loved it. It's bold, it's audacious, and you don't see it too often. It's going to be unwieldy for a lot of mainstream audiences for sure. And because I'm reviewing this a couple days after it's coming out, I looked on CinemaScore, F rating for audiences. Go figure, because this isn't what they were expecting. You guys were probably expecting a horror film, and if you're not really a Darren Aronofsky fan, that's to be expected when you watch the trailer. But for me, I was kind of forewarned. I was like, this isn't what it was marketed, and I'm glad I went into that. And frankly, in terms of negatives, because I kind of was like forewarned about, hey, it's not it's not the way it was marketed. I have to say, I really didn't find there to be any negatives. I originally gave it a 5 out of 5 star rating, and 2 days later, I'm still feeling that, man. Like, I can't stop thinking about this film at work. I'm like, so I'm giving Mother exclamation mark a 5 out of 5 star rating. I think that this film was excellent. And now, guys, time to get into spoilers. This is where you guys that haven't seen the film, you got to leave. Those that have seen the film and want to hear my interpretation, let's settle in. So, spoilers starting now. I'm going to start from the beginning of the film. The beginning of the film, pretty much, you see someone get burned up. And I don't know why I didn't think about this, like, until the very end of the film, but the beginning of the film is, she looks so much like Jennifer Lawrence, and I should have picked up on that right away. That is the original Mother Earth, at least in this loop. Basically, I didn't even explain that yet. Jennifer Lawrence's mother isn't just a mother. She's a representation of Mother Earth. And you see the other mother get burnt alive. And then all of a sudden the house gets brought back to life, and you see Jennifer Lawrence awaken. Now, Jennifer Lawrence's character, as in being a representation of Mother Earth, her house is also like a representation of Earth. And Javier Bardem he's not just him or a writer. He is God, a representation of such. And the first guest that comes into the house, Ed Harris, I think that he is a representation of Adam in Genesis. That's why when he gets drunk in the one scene and he's like bleeding off the side, and like the writer, I call him the creator because he's a representation of God, holds his side, and it's just like in the Bible when Adam, his rib, Eve comes from the rib, and that's why it's like it makes sense, because then the next day you see Michelle Pfeiffer's character come along, and it's like Adam and Eve, and much in the same way with Adam and Eve, the fruit, forbidden knowledge, that was their downfall. In this case, the crystal upstairs and Javier Bardem's characters, basically they ruin the crystal, like it gets destroyed, and so that basically causes their downfall. They're no longer going to be looked at as perfect, and in the eyes of him, he's angry. And speaking of anger, I noticed kind of early on that whenever Jennifer Lawrence as Mother Earth, whenever she is angry with the people around, there's blood. There's like blood that's like seeping through the floors, or like randomly being in the basement, or just blood anywhere. And that's a representation of anger. And I liked that especially. But when the two brothers come along, I remember when I saw it, I was like, wait, who are these? And then when the one kills the other, I was like, Cain and Abel. And that was what kind of solidified, hey, that's Adam and Eve, this is Cain and Abel. And as the film progresses, you kind of notice that when they have the baby, Javier Bardem's character, to even more solidify my thoughts on him being God, he isn't close with Mother Earth. He's very distant. He barely touches Mother Earth. And in the Bible, God can't have relationships. Like he can't. He's there for one purpose, to send his only begotten Son into the world. And in this film, that's what he does. That's what Javier Bardem's character does. He has, they have the kid, and then what he wants to do is give the kid to everyone, well, the baby. And when he does that, they kill him and eat him. Yeah, that scene was difficult to watch, but that's a representation of giving Jesus to the people, us crucifying, killing him, and then remembering him for communion. It's messed up, but at the same time, it's a different interpretation, which I appreciate. I respect Darren Aronofsky's view, and it's just when you get to the war zone sequence, that was bonkers. I know I said I was going to go in order, and that's literally right before this whole baby sequence, but that scene was bonkers, and it all takes place in the house, and it's like a representation of time. I know some people that are going to probably be referring to it as Sharknado or something, but you know something? It was smart, in my opinion, with how he did it, because it just shows the growth through time, how it's through time there is violence, there is always going to be violence, and the writer, he is constantly wanting the people to be happy. He is constantly wanting to be there for them. And when they finally go away from them, go away from them, the house. That, in my opinion, is the midpoint between the Old Testament and the New Testament, because Howie Rodom's character in the beginning, he has one book written, the Old Testament, and with the baby being born, that's the New Testament, that's his inspiration, and that brings the New Testament, and that's what also brings the people back to the house. So that in-between point is a representation of in between the Old and New Testament. That's just my thoughts on that. And when Jennifer Lawrence, after going through the ringer and finally basically blows up the house and gets her heart ripped out by God, it was sad, and I get why Darren Aronofsky did it, because it's and then pretty much she then her heart gets put into the house, and that was something I had wondered earlier, why there was a heart beating in the house, and that heart beating was the previous Mother Earth, and Jennifer Lawrence, her heart then gets put into the house again. Her heart gets put into the house, and then the house gets rebuilt again, and there's a new Mother Earth that looks kind of like Jennifer Lawrence, but not exactly. And overall, guys, my whole thought is I think that this is Darren Aronofsky's interpretation of the Bible, the environment, how we are destroying the environment constantly, how with mankind there's very little hope, because we're willing to willing to do war, we're willing to kill a baby. It's all a lot of messed up stuff that's in this film, and it's very nihilistic, but I get what Darren Aronofsky was trying to accomplish, and I respect and appreciate 100% what he was doing. And I know some people are going to be outraged by this film. It's a very different interpretation of Christianity and environmentalism, but you know something? Respect the artist. That's my motto. I respect him 100% with what he was trying to do. I know some people are also going to be this is pretentious, and even if they get the right, I feel as though also that I'm explaining a lot of my interpretation, but there's also a lot of stuff that I'm sure I'll look back into this review and be oh, well, I didn't say this, I didn't say that, and that's because it's only my first time watching. When I'm seeing it a second and third time, I'm sure I'll pick up on a lot more and be oh, this and that. But for now, there's stuff relating to Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, obviously the passing through time, the birth of Jesus, and his death, the communion involving it, and the relationship, the what happens if God did have a relationship. This is what it would be like. It makes sense. Again, I'm not agreeing with it, but it's a different interpretation, and that's what I liked and appreciate about Mother. So, I know I've said a lot, and I know that the people that are going to be watching this are probably going to be dude. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts. I know that there are some people, a lot of people I should say, that aren't going to agree with me and are just going to probably hate it. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts. I want to hear your interpretations, and if you guys haven't seen Mother, know your tastes in film, how you look at it, and if you're able to appreciate it or not, or just want quick entertainment. So, again, know yourself, and thank you guys very much for watching, and if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends and family. But thanks again, guys, for watching, and hope you guys have a good day. Catch you later.